Hello, welcome back. I'm Lorenza Nicole Molina, aka the Black Butterfly Queen, La Reina Mariposa Negra, and I am your host for this podcast, View from the Throne. Thank you for coming back today. Well, I just want to see first before I get started, really, how everybody's doing. How are y'all? How's everybody doing out there? Um, how did you enjoy the last podcast? Um, you know, all that good stuff. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming back. Um, I want to talk about dreams, vision, and reality. Um, when your dream, the dream that becomes, it ends up becoming reality. Um, I think a lot of us are feeling stuck at dream or feeling stuck at vision, and we're wondering when those things are going to become a reality. Hold on, let me scoot this. So I think there's a lot of us that are stuck at dream, and we're wondering when our dreams are going to become a reality, when they're going to come into come into fruition, when we will really experience it, or are we always going to just be dreaming? And I got to a point where I was like, I'm tired of dreaming. Okay, I'm tired of dreaming. I really am. I'm tired of hoping. And that's the place where it's like, and it's not that you haven't tried to put things into play, but that's the place where I feel like when you're like, the reason why you're running out of dream is because you're getting closer to the reality of the dream coming to fruition. But really that process is, it can be very draining and everything. But the dream that becomes a vision, that becomes a vision that ends up becoming reality. That has probably already actually happened a couple of times to you and you don't even realize it. Because your eye is on the bigger dream and not the little things that you have asked for, and things that are small to you now weren't always small to you back when. Like, some of us are in houses. I know that's an obvious one. We always use the house or the car example, but it's reality. Some of us are in houses that we forgot we prayed for, or that we wanted when we were kids, that we couldn't have. And we're so caught up in all the the blessing and the frustration of being on the other side of favor, that we forget that the only reason why this is we're sitting in an answered prayer, you know. Um, so there's two things. There is the blessing, the blessing and the favor that you're in, that sometimes blessings aren't easy, and we can talk about that in another one, why that is. And then there is still feeling like you're searching for something and feeling like you like, where is it at? where what are you talking about? I have not had that experience yet. Some of us are living in answered prayers, and it doesn't mean it's a house, and it doesn't mean it's a car. It may be a situation change. It may be a job change. It may be a change in a way you would not expect it to come, but it came. Like, I'm sick of these people at my job doing me this, and then you lose your job. Like, what happened? Oh my gosh, I need this job though. But God's using that to open up another door to give you something different. So answers aren't always easy. The way they come, it's kind of like my mom told me, if you pray for patience, God will give you things to wait on. If you pray for joy, God's going to allow you to deal with things that that aren't always as joyful, but you have to learn how to have joy in them. If you pray for hope, then God may send you hopeless people who feel hopeless, or allow you to deal with people or scenarios that have hopelessness attached to them, so that the hope can be birthed in you. If you ask God for to increase your faith, he may give you something to help grow that. God is about building and growing. So when you ask him for something, he's going to give you something that's going to help you grow in that way, and that best suits you as a person. It doesn't mean it's going to come like it comes to me, but he's going to give you something that's going to help you grow, right? So sometimes in our growth, that is the answer. God is in that. The answer is not just yes or no. It's okay, let's do the process then. So you're in the process of something and you don't realize that's the answer. And that process has gotten you to the point where it's like, you said you wanted, like I asked God to help me understand his love. And so I had to, when I asked him that, he started immediately having me deal with all the things that hurt me. Whew. So I had to start dealing with all those things. And let me tell you, since I did not ever, you know how you go through life and sometimes you don't have time to grieve or deal with things. You just like, I'm trucking through. I'm not even pushing through. I'm trucking through. Burm, 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 burm. I'm trucking through this. And I didn't have, I just didn't, child. I just didn't have time, because there was always something. I'm not saying I didn't cry here and there, but I didn't have time to really deal with why things affected me a certain way, or search it out. I had the desire to, but I never had the time to I never had the ability to sit, and God gave me a lot of time to sit. In my last podcast, I talked about the waiting period. That's that period I'm talking about. I'm talking about it right now. That period where I was waiting was a period where God has had me sitting and learning about myself, right? So that was that was very difficult, because I had to deal with a lot of self-value. Now I didn't want to sit like that. I wanted to move the way I wanted to move, and I just was not allowed. And every time I tried, it messed stuff up, and I was like, okay, let me stop. Let me stop, because I can't keep going back to square one. I don't got time to keep going back to square one. So let's just deal with this then. Because if I'm gonna have to deal with it, let me deal with it then. Because I can't keep going back. But that process that you're going through is also part of the answer. That process that you're going through that takes you from dream to the dream becoming a reality is also the answer. And it's good to be able to reflect and find out the other answers by remembering the things you prayed for prior, before you got to where you were. So you can understand, you know what? I did go through this process to get here. Help you recognize when you're in the process of an answer. Okay? Because dreams are something we have in our mind first, right? A vision becomes a goal. Like a dream is given, like, oh, one day I want to do this maybe. It's an idea. Sounds exciting. A vision is like, okay, I want to do this. How do I get it done? I see it. It's in front of me. I know that there's a tunnel, a pathway to it. Let me start working on what I'm seeing in front of me, because now I'm awake and I still want the same thing. I've gone through this, that, and the third, and I still want the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I still, after all this time, I want this. That's when you have that vision. Like I got a dream could be anything when you're a kid. But a vision is something that is just, you can't unsee it. You think about it, it comes back. It keeps coming back. It keeps knocking at your door. You know what I'm saying? So,
Psst. Hey, so just a quick warning. The sound on the video changed. I just thought I would tell you before it shifted. So you wouldn't be taken by surprise. No, it doesn't sound like me right now. I just did this for effect. But other than that, just continue enjoying the podcast. Okay. Bye. Back to regular scheduled programming.
That's your vision. That's what you're working towards. A dream is the spark. The vision is the goal. And the reality is the dream and the vision finally coming together in your hands. And sometimes that process is so long that by the time we get there, child, we so tired. It's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be excited about this. But when I first had this dream and first had this vision, I was a whole nother person, and I had a whole nother idea. But that's also why you didn't have it at that time. Even though you had the tenacity for it and the excitement for it, you were a whole nother person. That's why the process had to happen, so that you could be what you are right now while you're feeling tired and wore out, so that you can actually live in the reality. Because now you can be trusted with the things in reality to do what you're supposed to do with it. But when you are in the middle, working on the vision to get to the reality because of the dream, you got to recognize that this is necessary. And it's like the quicker you begin to recognize the process, like I'm in the process. God is doing something to me because I asked him for something. I asked him for a tall order, so I got to wait longer than everybody else that made short orders. I asked for a tall order, so I should expect to have to wait a certain amount of time for a tall order. Or I should expect that he's going to want to work on me. They say to wives that if you pray for your husband, or husbands to wives, if you pray for your wife, God, I need you to do something with them. I need you to help them with this, or I need you to help them love better or hear me better. Guess what? He's going to start working on you. You want something different. He's going to work on you so you can be in the position to receive it. It doesn't mean he's not going to immediately work on them, but you may not immediately see that. He already knew he was going to ask. He probably already been working on them, to tell you the truth. But you're not going to see that right away. He's going to show you yourself, so that you can work on yourself, so that you have room to receive. Because there's a lot of things that you unload. Because how often do people sabotage the things that they ask for? They want somebody trustworthy, but they never trust nobody. Well, you probably lying, but that person is actually trustworthy because they don't let go of things. And God loves us too much to leave us where we are, right? So we got to trust the process, trust God. And when we don't, we have to understand that, because there's times where we questioning God. And we have to you know what? That's my disbelief, and that is not coming from God. That is coming from somewhere in my life. We have to have the maturity to understand when we start dealing with disbelief, that's coming from somewhere in my life. The enemy planted something where I'm having a hard time growing in, and I give my disbelief right now to God. Sometimes you can't even go into, I'm hoping for this, God, my disbelief, I need you to help me in this area. Remind me of what you said. Don't let me leave your presence. God, be in my ear. You gotta pray differently when that hits. And you gotta ask God, hey, Lord, show me how to pray. Holy Spirit, show me how to pray. God, give me the words that I need to say over myself, over my family, over my future connection, my future relationships, the people that I will encounter. Help me to pray. God, give me how do I pray? Right? So sometimes you're in the process of a blessing, of an answer, which is still the answer. So yes, we can do this. I'm going to tell you what I went through. God asked me, and this is what I have been wanting. He said, he asked me, was I ready to start traveling outside the country and doing work and stuff like that? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready, God. Gave me the opportunity. I was finally about to work on some things. I had been waiting in that waiting place 4 years. I thought I was done at that time. And the pandemic hit. My God, when I say I was a month out from leaving to go work on some, And the pandemic hit. And we didn't even understand what it was at first. We didn't understand what we was dealing with. I first was like, okay, get all the stuff we need. Survive, we already stacking up on stuff anyway because this is what we do. But but then it started hitting me like, wait a minute, I can't work right now. But the whole world stop. Carry on, be honest. It wasn't that. It was just world stop for like 2.5 years. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And this was an opportunity. It felt so big. And it was like God gave it to me. He's like, okay, yes. And I'm like, yes, yes. But it was like testing my character too. Like, okay, so this happened. Are you still gonna believe me that I can still do this in the middle of all this? And I'm just like, I don't know no more. I got depressed. I gained weight. It was just, I stopped doing stuff. I stopped dancing. I started stressing. I was like, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm tired. I'm ready to do this way and da 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 da. And I was just like, God, I don't understand. And God was like, all I was looking for was a yes. Are you ready? And I let you know I'm ready too. But it can't happen like this way. And there's some other things because there's other people attached to you, and those things, those people that are attached to you, if they're supposed to be attached to you, then they're gonna stay, and if they're not, then they're gonna fall off. And there's some people that need to fall off, and then there's some relationships that needed to be cultivated and mended, and growth had to come back because those relationships were going to be significant later. Fast forward to now. I have been to go do what I needed to do out of the country, and I did it, and I stayed longer than I would have before. And the people that I was going to originally work with, I end up not even working with because they fell off so bad or whatever happened. And I was like, they were never meant for me to work with. It was always meant for me to just be willing to go and be in the right place to go mentally. But there were so many loose ends that needed to be sewed up. There were so many relationships that needed to be reconciled, healed, or cut off. Like God was like, okay, now that you're ready, let's go ahead and get rid of the rest of this stuff. Now that you've waited long enough to actually start running, right before you run, let's make sure your shoelaces are tied. Pretty much is like how he was talking to me, right? Got my shoelaces tied, got my feet in the blocks going off. I went. And I went through challenges there. And that's that other part where you be blessed and favored, but we'll talk about that on another one. But it was an answered prayer. It was an answered prayer from a long time ago. And even while I was there, for a minute, I was like, I was happy at first, and then I was going through some stuff. I was there working, and then I was just like, I don't know. All of a sudden, it was just like I want to go back home. I don't want to deal with this and the third. There was a lot of things coming to my mind, and God was showing me like, your answers are not going to always, your answers don't necessarily aren't glamorous. They're the full picture. Your dream and your vision was a Kodak moment that I let you have so that you will understand where you were when you were there. It's kind of like someone drawing you a map. When you're looking at the map, you see the roads, but you don't see the potholes, and you don't see the cars that might try to run you off. You don't see the big rigs or the buildings you're passing. All you see are the roads, and you see names where the landmarks might be. There may be a gas station here, or whatever, but you don't see all that unless you're doing Google Maps and you go all the way in, right? But for the most part, when you are looking at a map, even in Google Maps, that is a snapshot that was already taken. It is not what it's going to look like exactly. You don't know if you're going to be in a storm or not, but it's the path and it's the place you're supposed to be at. So When God is showing you something, he's going to give you a picture so that you have an indicator. But that picture is not going to give you how it's going to smell, taste, feel, the food. It's not going to give you all the other things. And when your other senses are awakened, it can be very overwhelming, because now this is not the dream, this is the reality. And in the reality, it doesn't feel like the dream anymore, because the dream was always the picture. The dream was always the vision. It don't feel like that no more. It don't feel like it no more. Child, I've been looking up here. It don't feel like that no more. But at the same time, you know where you're supposed to be is right. But I'm telling you, a question is sometimes. But it's where you're supposed to be. But it's not going to look exactly like the dream and vision, because the dream and vision was limited. When you look at a brochure and you see a picture of a place you want to go, that is to help entice you. That's to help encourage you to want to be there, to choose them. And you go, and usually it's way more than just a picture. The experience. Because you don't experience a photo, you experience the place. The vision was like the carrot pulling you forward. When you finally get the carrot, there's so much more in front of you. Like, oh, wait a minute. The picture is on the vision is only a picture. The dream is only a picture. The dream is the first part of the picture being drawn out. The vision is when the picture's drawn out fully. And you're like, this is what I need to do. But the reality is living in it and smelling the air around you, feeling the atmosphere, experiencing the people around you and the relationships and the dynamics. And that's overwhelming, because now all your other senses have woken up, and you got to use them. And that's how sometimes it feels when your gifts, you didn't realize you had gifts, and all your gifts are waking up at one time in this new place. All your gifts you didn't realize had, but they naturally wake up, because if you smell something, your nose just works. You see it, you see it. If you feel it, you feel it. You can't shut that off in the right environment. But with a picture, you don't need the sense of smell. You don't need the sense of taste. You can't even really truly use a sense of touch to really know that place. But you can kind of see where you could go. But after you get there, that's when all the other senses are awakened. And so that's how our gifts pop up too. And so sometimes we feel overwhelmed in our answer. Sometimes we're on our way, and sometimes we have arrived and we feel overwhelmed in our answer. But you are living it. And because you got tired along the way, God needed you to be at the end of yourself so that you would lean on him inside of your answer, not yourself. So you didn't need all that energy from before. You need his energy, his power, his everything. It takes him to do it. That's what it takes. It takes him. And that's what he wants. He needs you to be at the end of yourself, arriving. At the end of yourself, arriving. At the end of yourself, arriving. So all you have, all you can do, without option, is say, God, what do I do next? And when you ask God what to do, what he do? He gives you steps. He gives you little things to do so that you can build in your promised land, in your reality. Because when we build things, we lay foundation. Generations, we lay things for the legacy. So he put you in a position to where you have to ask so that he can show you what to do. Because God likes to build things so that you can build it, so that the ones that are coming can have something there already established for them. And I want to say this real quick. I heard somebody say this, and I just want to say this real quick. They talk about, somebody was talking about You know, I'm scratched. I'm not gonna bring that up because it's gonna take me to a whole nother direction. But you are living in some of your answers right now, and you're in the process of some of your answers right now. And you can feel very tired right now. But believe me, it's all working for your good. And life is going to happen along the way, but God's going to use all those things. Just like he used Mary Magdalene's tears. All she had was her tears. Her alabaster jar with oil in it, and the hair on her head. We know, we look at our hair like our crown. Whether it is purchased or grown or sown, it's ours. And if we're bald, that's still us. That's our mind is our crown, honey. Okay? Laying it down. Your head down. Laying that down before his throne. She laid her hair down. Used it to clean his feet when he came in. It wasn't even her house, by the way. She came and found him and showed gratitude. But God will use everything. All that you have matters. The broken pieces. God will. You ever seen somebody trying to pick up the crumbs? They lick their fingers and oops. They lick their fingers and they do this because they trying to pick up crumbs. That's how God. That's how finger licking good you are to God. Okay, He gon' Let me get all the. I want all of you the way you are. I'll put you back together in a way you won't even recognize yourself. And some of you don't realize the reason why you don't realize you're in an answer because throughout your process, God has been taking all the pieces that you thought were broken and he's been really putting you back together. And now you're tired and you're in a place and you think you're at the end. You're at the end of yourself. You're at the end of your own ideas, your own mindset, your own ways. That's where you need to be. But at the same time, you are together in the way he needs you to be. You have been put together in a way. There are certain things you will not put up with anymore. There are certain things that you don't tolerate anymore. And that's how you're supposed to be. I mean, there'll be times there's a righteous anger. When I say righteous anger, I'm not talking about self-righteous. I'm talking about a godly anger in you. When people do, no, you can't come over here with that because we don't accept that over here. Visa may be accepted everywhere, but it's not accepted over here if it's full of mess. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all have been healed and don't realize how healed you are. But don't be like those 10 lepers and only one came back and said thank you. Look at your life and really ask God to show you through his eyes about your life. Don't look through your pain. Don't look through your anger. Don't look through what somebody didn't do. God, give me the maturity to see what you see. To have the eyes to see what you see. To see myself, my situation for what it is. Yes, and that's another question, another prayer. Guess what that's going to require? Things being peeled back. But why would you want that to be peeled off and peeled back? Don't you want to know who you really are? How God really sees you? Your true beauty? Don't you want to know? Don't you want to know? Don't you want to go ahead? I mean, you're dealing with the mess anyway. Might as well go ahead and face it for one last time to get it away from you so you can go ahead and do what you're going to do. Get rid of those strongholds. So you can see how much God has been truly blessing you, trying to give you the things that you asked for. And how he's giving you some things that you asked for that you forgot you asked for when you was 10, 16, 21, 5, 4, 3. Things that you wanted and things that he has promised you that you don't even know he wants to give you. Don't keep giving pain more room in your life. The vision of how you see yourself through pain. More room than the God who created you. You are beautiful, wonderful, and fearfully made. It's not zooming. It's not clearing up. don't know if it's. For I know the plans I have for you. Okay. It says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. The plans to prosper you and to not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11, honey. This is a little journal. I write in. I'm not going to show y'all everything, but this is a journal. That's what this is for you. Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans I have for you. You don't know everything. You do not know everything. I don't know who that's for, but you don't know everything. I know you think you know everything, but you don't know. You don't. You don't. You don't. You don't. Yes, I'm talking to you, the one that keeps debating in your mind. I'm talking to you, the one that keeps debating with me in your mind. You don't, and that's okay. See, this is something I teach my kids. There's nothing wrong with not knowing. You just need to have the confidence in yourself that you can learn. There's no way to know everything. Your value is not in how much you understand everything. Your value is in God. I asked God, what is the purpose? Why did you even make us? He said, relationship. I don't have a relationship with the angels or other creatures I create. I have a relationship with my children. I created you to share my love because I wanted to share my love. I created you so that you can be loved, out of love, to love me back, and to share love amongst yourselves. You're supposed to be like me, so you're also supposed to share love. God is a God of relationship. Your value is not in what you think you know or what you knew, and you wonder why it's not working anymore, because God does not want you to go off your own mind and your own ways and your own thinking and all that stuff. He says, I know the plans. I know. He didn't say you know. He didn't ever tell you you're supposed to know. He gave you a vision. He gave you a dream. He gave you an idea so that you could seek him and so that you keep fighting to go forward. But he didn't tell you I was going to tell you everything. I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm not going to show you everything. I can only give you a snapshot because that's as much as you can receive. And along the way, I am going to mold you and shape you, and I'm going to make sure that you become to the end of yourself when you arrive. So when you arrive empty of yourself, you will arrive full of me. I do not need you to bring your old self into this. I don't need you to bring your old thinking into this. I don't need you to have your own mindset. That's not going to work. What worked in the desert ain't going to work in the promised land. While the children in the desert waited for manna, it took the children going into the promised land to fight for their property. It is not going to be the same. You cannot use the same strategies that you used in the desert. You are not in a waiting place anymore. It is going to require less of your old thinking. We always talk about cutting people off. This ain't about cutting everybody else off. This is about cutting off your mindset. All those people that you cut off before that you said I had to cut them off, they were really distractions from you cutting off your old thinking. There weren't really, those people, yeah, they may not have been good, but people usually that aren't good in your life are distractions. Their drama is a distraction from the issues that you have to deal with. So if you become a person that just want to help everybody and everything, and you're an enabler, because you're not really, because you have the need to be needed, then you're helping people, but you're not being directed by God, so you can really be sabotaging or messing with what God's trying to do or standing in the way of God when God's trying to do something. So really, you need to just back up anyway. And then you're like, I'm tired, everybody keep... But you was never supposed to be in that position. And if people put you in a position, you stayed in a position when you realize they put you in the wrong position, then it's your fault. You should never been in that position. After you realize and you didn't move. God holds us accountable for what we know, not for what we don't know. He holds us accountable for what we know. And all he gives us is him. He gives us himself. He said, know me. So he can hold you accountable for what you know in him. He said, I'm telling you the truth. I love you. You have to be at the end of yourself to arrive. When you're at the end of yourself, you have arrived. When you are fully, when you're becoming full of God and less full of mess or stress or worry or anxiety and all this stuff. God needs us to be at the end of ourselves. There's no room for us, our old habits in God's. There's just no room for it. It is. Let me tell you, it's uncomfortable. This is not judgment. This is as a witness. Okay, it is uncomfortable. But there's so much reward. We're so afraid of letting go of things because we feel like it's going to require something of us that's going to hold us accountable on a certain level. I know that was my thing. Like, I don't want to be accountable for everybody because I feel like I did a lot of things in life to help people. And I felt I felt overwhelmed. God said, but this is not, you just need to be accountable to what I give you. You need to be accountable for following through when I ask you to do something. You just need to be accountable for being obedient. And pretty much staying open. That's pretty much what he's saying. But everything else is on me. This is my word. My word I send out and it does not come back void to me. I just need you to follow through. But just like he told Esther, what did Mordecai tell Esther? If you don't follow through, it doesn't mean that you're not going to perish, Esther. You surely may perish. Just like God told Eve, you surely die if you eat this fruit. Esther, you surely will die if you do not follow through. But God will raise up somebody who will follow through. Follow through. God is here, and all he needs is willing vessels, willing people, willing people. You ain't got to call yourself, you ain't got to be no pastor out here in no pulpit. He just need people to be willing to move according to the will he has for them in their life. That's it. You got to be at the end of yourself, though, to be ready to really do that. I mean, you got to be at the end of whatever you thought yourself was. Because I'm going to tell you, you're going to find a whole other part of yourself. You're like, whoa, I didn't know I love this or like this so much. You're going to realize so much mess was a lie. And why you did the stuff you did, you were operating out of trauma and that trust. Building up walls, not boundaries. Walls. The greatest deception to me is the almost truth. It was almost true until you realize it just wasn't. It was almost true. Don't live in almost truth when you can live in clarity and peace and truth. His truth. God's the only truth that matters. Almost truth is not enough, and you will forever be frustrated and unsatisfied, especially if there's a purpose inside of you trying to come out. Because there's something more that your soul and your spirit is trying to say. And it's time to go closer to God, work on your relationship with him. He's not going to put more on you that you can bear. He's not people. He is with you. He loves you very much. He will not leave you nor forsake you. They may have, but God will always bring you a witness. But God will never leave you nor forsake you. Okay. So, some of us are in the process of our answer. And we're going to have to go, there's a stripping away during that process. Because the answer is obviously yes. So just Yield to it. Because if you buck against it, you make it harder for you to yield to God. Not necessarily to rush the process, but why go through more unnecessarily, right? And some of us are living in answered prayers while in the process of another answer, not realizing we are, because we're so wound tight. Some of us have arrived and we're so tired, and we're wondering how we're going to do this. All of this is by the might of the Holy Spirit, the might of God. That's how all this is done. Well, I went over my time just a little bit, but I want to tell y'all, living in the almost, I keep doing it, living in the almost truth is nothing like living in the truth. Either almost, and I would hate to be, saved, doing great, get to heaven and realize my whole life I just lived in almost. I never lived in all of it, all of God. Just almost, but not all. Not the full, not the truth. Almost. Thinking I know. Misinterpreting things. Thinking I understand. Judging things wrongly. Using the right scriptures, but for the wrong reason. Almost. Almost. Hearing from God, but reacting in the flesh. Almost. Instead of acting in your spirit, reacting in love, compassion, waiting on Him for a response, an answer. Almost. I believe that God believes, I believe that God wants us to live in the fullness of Him. Not almost. He said, I came so that you can have life and have life more abundantly. You may be in this world, but you are not of this world. I came so that you can have life. And not just have life, not just live, but live abundantly. So where some of y'all think y'all have boundaries up, y'all really have 20-foot tower walls. A boundary could be a line. A boundary could be a dot on the ground. It don't have to be a wall. Almost. It sounds like that's right. It almost sounds right? To have a wall. But is it a wall or a boundary? Walls keep things out, but they also keep things in. And sometimes they keep the things in that you need to let out and the things out that you need to let in. Boundaries give you a place where you can say, okay, I don't want to go this far because of this. This is out here on this part. It's a map that you can look at. But you can't look through a wall. But you can see past boundaries. Where everything goes, where it needs to be. Anyway, let's not just arrive at almost. Let's arrive empty at the end of ourselves, but full of God. Not perfect, just willing. Just willing. You're not going to be 100% perfect, and you're not going to be, but just willing, Okay. Well, I gotta go, guys. Once again, I'm Lorenza Niccholl Molina, aka the Black Butterfly Queen, La Reina Mariposa Negra, and this is View from the Throne. Bye. No weapon, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. It won't work. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. it won't work.
Hey guys, before I forget, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And also hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. And if you're interested in seeing anything else that I do, you can go in my description and hit my link tree and follow any page from there. Thanks again. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.